Alright, hi everybody. I'm going to get started even though I can't see this on Instagram yet because I figured out that there's a delay. But I will be able to see comments in a few minutes and I'll bring it up on my tablet so I can actually read them out loud and answer them on the video. What I'm going to be doing today is cutting and then building a blue smart doll boy, mostly because when I did the cinnamon one a few months ago, I had done it before, but I was not as practiced as I am now. And I figure it's time to do an update on the video. Plus, last time the battery ran out on my phone when I was in the middle of questions, and I'm going to make this one a little bit quicker, more concise, because it seems like a lot of people were using that video as reference, which I'm happy for. But I want to make it so maybe it's a little bit shorter and a little bit more to the point. So, first, I need to get the vinyl warmed up. Which I probably should have done before I started the video, but I had to set up my entire space. So while it's warming up, I will show you guys what I need to do a cutting job and show you the different tools I use. It doesn't take too long before I can cut some of the things, so. And I still can't see the live on my feed, which makes it just a little annoying because I want to be able to see everyone's comments and who's on the thing. Oh, let's get this going. Okay, well, it's definitely live on my phone, even though my tablet doesn't see it. So, okay. I don't put these in the box in any sort of order. Just kind of like pile them all in there. We'll move them around a little bit as we need certain things to get hotter than others, but for cutting, you want pretty much everything the same temperature. Just have them all hang out there. They'll help warm each other up too. I use a small Culture Japan box, and I used to have this taped down so like stayed kind of shut, but that popped up ages ago. So you kind of want to close the flaps a little bit, keep the air inside. I use my mallet to hold my hair dryer in place because otherwise it slides across my table and will eventually fall off. Tools we're going to need, oh shoot, I should have done this before that. You want a fresh X-Acto blade. So this is what I used to cut Crystal Doll last weekend, so I'm going to get rid of that. Let's get a new one out here. I got a pack of like 40 blades and it was only $10. So if you are like me and are like, oh no, I don't know if I want to get a new blade for everything, it's going to be expensive. It's really not. And how much you save your hands is worth it. I use a new blade for every cut, even though I could probably, you know, use a blade for more than that. But I figure this is what I know. Every single time when I start, it's going to be nice and fresh and sharp. I also use my copper glove because it just makes it so that this hand doesn't fatigue as fast. I had carpal tunnel at one point and I don't want to have that again, so I just take care of at least my right hand. My left gets abused. Okay, get the blade in there. Get it tight. Make sure it's not wiggly. Alright, that's good. I also will use these gloves. I don't always use them because, I don't know, maybe my hands are just used to the heat now. But when you're holding a really hot vinyl, it helps. However, there's been a few times where I cut more than just the vinyl, and so you can see where I had some flesh wounds in the glove. Man, this is really obnoxious. I want to be able to see everyone's chat. Okay. For the beginning, all you really need is some gloves and your knife, and then you need it to heat up. I'm gonna see if there's any questions because obviously I can't see it on my thing yet. All right. So far I just got a hi, so hi. I'm really happy that all you guys decided you wanted to tune in to watch my hair dry, because that's literally what's happening right now. By the end of this, I'm gonna have my sleeves rolled up to my shoulders and be quite warm. But for now, I'm okay. All right, we're gonna start with the bust, because everything else I like it to be is really, really warm. The bust is actually more difficult to cut when it's super warm, because it gets really, really flimsy and floppy, and it just gets harder to cut. So, to cut the bust, though, we need to pull out our spine, because all they do on the bust, at least for the boys, is they just have this little dot where the center is, in the middle of the arms, in the middle of the neck. What you need to do is you need to cut a hole around that dot that is big enough for the spine peg to poke through, and then on the side, you could just make it so it's big enough to put the shoulders in, but on the slim, it actually works out better if you give it a little bit more space. You won't be able to see the whole crimson here. So this is a slim bust that CJ cut, and as you can see, they cut it pretty big, and you can't see that gap when their arms are in, so you're pretty safe to cut it that big. There's no guideline though, so you can either reference another one or just keep putting the spine in and then say, can I put the arms in? Is that good? And that's all you need to do. I don't know why it's not letting me bring up the live on my tablet. I want to be able to see the chat. Okay, so let's get going on the cut. I also like to do the bust first because your blade's nice and fresh. And that makes it a lot easier to cut too, because again, the bust is just obnoxious. So, start with a very small circle around that center dot, and then you want to spin the bust on your blade. You want to hold your blade nice and steady. You can always trim more away, but you can't undo what you've cut. And also you have more control if you're moving the vinyl around your knife. Just about every single time where I've cut myself has been because I was trying to move the blade through the vinyl. Okay, that's a little rough, but I'm going to see how it is for size. Alright, we want to go a little bit bigger too. But you can fit it through. You want to make it just a little bit bigger than that. But you don't want to make it big and gaping. Okay. Just clean it up a little bit. Don't want to do like little carves. You want to do one long sweeping cut if possible. The vinyl's stuck in there somewhere. Okay, let's give it another try. Perfect. Okay, so on the spine, there's this little silicone. Shoot, I can't think of the term for it. There's this little silicone ring on there, and that helps keep it so that, you know, it holds it in place. It's not wiggling around too much. It's also protection for the head when you put it on there too. So you want the bust to be able to fit through that, and so we got that perfect. All right. Next up, we'll do the arms. I usually start these a little small and then make them bigger because the bust is super, super squishy and you'll never get a perfect circle the first time you cut. So you may as well start it smaller than you want it, and then you can make it bigger with trimming. I say that and then I get like an almost perfect carve the first time. So I have found that the different kinds of vinyl, different colors of vinyl, cut differently. Cocoa I feel like is the hardest, maybe it's because there's so much pigment in it. Okay, no, I take it back. Out of the normal colors, cocoa is the hardest. Crystal is the absolute hardest to cut. I feel like every single piece of that vinyl is sticky. And it's not like, oh, you touch it and your fingers stick to it. It's that your blade just like wants to suction to it. So, crystal is really tricky to cut. But this one seems to be like a nice smooth one. Like tea and cinnamon are. And it's not as soft as the gray blue. Gray blue is super, super soft. But I have a feeling that was an experimental batch. So, alright. I only need to trim this one up a little. Because, like I said, for some magical reason, maybe because I'm on camera, I did it perfect the first time. So, okay. We're going to get the other one. And then we'll do the bottom. I also like to do the bust and the torso first, because they are the hardest. And I often have to heat the torso up 3 different times to finish all the cutting. So we're going to grab the torso out next. Alright. This one's a little smaller than the other one, so I'm going to trim this one a little bit. As you're working, you're probably going to get shavings stuck to the inside. At the end of every build, I go through and I try and wipe it down with a damp paper towel and then dry it with a dry one. Partially because if I get any hand sweat on there, it clears it off, but also because it gets these little shavings off that just like to stick to the inside of the vinyl. Don't worry about them too much when you're cutting, though. You can clean them up later. Alright, we're going to make this one a little bit bigger. I hate cleaning up on the bust because it just, you're like, I'm going to make this nice and round. And it's like, no you aren't. I'm going to stretch, so it's going to be a weird shape. I'm still trying to get the live to come up on my computer. It's not cooperating with me. Well, I was going to use my Surface instead of the iPad because the iPad wasn't working right either, but now the Surface isn't working. Something just doesn't want me to talk to you guys tonight. Okay. And I'm just kind of cleaning up the inner edges because I think the shape on this one's okay now. You want to be careful, especially with the torso, how deep you cut, because you will not know if you run the tip of your blade into another part of the bust. It'll just cut right into it, and suddenly, oh hey, look, you can see your blade through the outside, and you really don't want to run into that problem. Okay, I think I got all that vinyl out. That's pretty good. I would carve this up more if I was doing this for somebody else, but this is for me, and I'm not going to keep you guys on here for 2 hours. That's one reason why I am filming cutting my own instead of cutting somebody else's, because I take longer when I'm doing a commission. Alright, so there is a guide on the bottom. There's this lip, and there's a few supports along it, so those are the hardest to cut through, but you want to follow that lip. And make sure not to let your blade go too deep, because then it gets hard to cut. And if you're not comfortable getting close, or if you're not comfortable getting right up to the edge, just get close, because you can come through and clean it up. And this is one where I find it to be easier to clean up than to cut the first cut, but I still try to get as close as I can. And again, it's squishy. It's kind of cooled down by now, which is one reason why I did this part last. This part actually works better if it's squishing less in your hand, because you can control it better. This is a really easy piece for your blade to slip, so you want to take it nice and slow. Because you can fix vinyl, but it's not pretty when you do. Pretty much the only way I figured out to do it is super glue it, and it just shows. So you want to just try and avoid cutting what you don't want to cut. Alright. So I was able to trim it out, but there's a lot of lip left in there that I'm going to go through and I'm going to trim up. You can't really see it when it's on the doll, so you don't need to be that picky. But if you ever take it off, which you frequently do with smart dolls, you're going to see it, and it doesn't look as nice. So I think I might move the camera a little bit so you guys can see the cutting better. I'm going to have it come over my shoulder, and then maybe I can actually see the chat, being as it is not cooperating on my tablet. Sorry, I'm double checking to see if there's any questions. Nope. Cool. Alrighty. Okay, maybe I should be able to see the cuts better now. Alright, so I hold the bust nice and steady, and then slowly and carefully push the bust against the blade. So most of this will not show from the outside, but these supports do. So you want to just run your blade along there and make it so that that support doesn't show. And of course I'm starting off with like the pickiest piece, but once we get it done, then I don't have to worry about it. And the rest of the pieces are a lot easier. There we go. This is obnoxious, but it's also really satisfying when you get it down so it's nice and smooth. So the other boy that I built on camera, the cinnamon one, he was a macho, so his bust is slightly different than this one. I think I ended up carving just enough space for the pegs to fit in his bust on that one. And that's usually how I do with the macho ones, but the shoulder sockets have become so hard to push into that I'm cutting the macho armholes to be about the same size as the slim ones now. You can't see it, so it works out okay, but it's because the shoulders are so hard to push into now that I've changed how I'm cutting them. To show you, I've got Ian's bust here. This is an old one where he's got an old frame. I have no problem pushing his arms in, but now they're just so tight. I make the macho ones, the holes look like that one more now, instead of this. Ian's still in pieces because of that weird random stain on his torso. He's got Dolphy Dream Rescue Cream slathered on right now, so he's in pieces. It's getting lighter, but it's not gone yet, and I have no idea what caused it. It looks metallic, but there was no metal on him, so I'm not really sure where it came from. And I haven't seen it on anything else, so still kind of a mystery. Alright, we're almost to the end. So you can see where we started cutting. I'm going to turn that up just a little bit. Alright. Now I'm going to check it from the outside, see if you can still see some of the supports. You can kind of still see a little bit right here, so I'm going to trim that up. Just try and make it smooth so you can't tell it was there. A little bit right here too. I need to turn this a little bit more, I think. Okay. Alright. So, my least favorite part, the bust, is done. Have that hang out over here. Now let's do the torso, which is buried, of course. Alright, get the easiest part off of here first. This is the top. And of course, it's the coldest part, so it's kind of hard to push it through. Just follow that guideline around. You can go flush up to it, or you can give it a little space like I do. It really doesn't matter, this part's not visible, unless you're doing some really major contortionist moves with your doll. Alright. It also doesn't really matter how clean it is, because it's very much so on the inside. But if you can get this all cut in one swipe, it actually looks pretty good just, you know, with one go. Nice and smooth. So that's good. Okay. I will probably be able to cut out one of these before I have to put this back in the box. So we're going to try and get one out. Alright, don't go too deep because you will run into the other side of the leg opening here. But you want to pass your knife around following the guide. Again, if you're not comfortable, you can go in a little bit and then trim it up later, which is what I'm going to do when I get down here, because I do find that vinyl pools down here, and this is not a very thick area. So I try and cut as much as I can, but very shallowly, and then I actually will fold the vinyl out. Alright, let's see what we're looking at here. Pull it out. Okay, I could have cut a little bit more here. Yeah, okay. So there's vinyl that is pooled and connected the two leg, I don't know what you want to call it, leg hole parts here. So I try and cut it down a little bit so that it separates. This is why I do the torso early on, because this is tricky and not obnoxious. And yes, you absolutely can cut too far and then your blade is somehow sticking into their butt crack. That's also not great. Okay. I gotta get this to come away from down here more, and then I'll be able to pull up the other part. Ugh. It's slippery and I'm sweaty. I haven't run into this problem with the girls. It's really just, it seems like that's how the guy's mold works out. I have to cut away some of the vinyl on the inside. Try and pull this up. There we go. Alright, I got the vinyl free from the other side, so I'm going to be able to cut this away now. Alright. If I can pull this back. Sorry, I'm flipping this all over the place here so I can try and get a good angle that you guys can see and I can see. I'm just trying to get this free at this point. Alright, almost there. Finally. Okay, so you see we still have all this vinyl in there, and part of the reason why is because it is just pools down there. We're gonna have to like carve that out a little bit so that's a little bit more flush, but I'll do that after I heat it back up. So this side's too hard to cut. We're gonna put this back in here and I'll deal with it again in a few minutes. Let's pull out something easy like a leg. Alright, on the thighs, rather than follow right here to the guide, I, just like on the torso, give it like a millimeter or two and use that as a guide, but don't actually cut on the line. It gives it so that there's a little bit more of an opening when you have to go put this on the frame, and you really can't notice it. So here we go. Follow it along. This is something that you will not see, but you're welcome to trim it out a little bit more if you feel like it. If you just want it to be pretty. Or if your cuts were wonky and you want to make it more of a uniform shape. Okay, and then we need to open up the bottom. Now if you're planning on constructing this cold, you're going to have to cut out a circle in the middle here so that the frame can pass through it. But if you're going to be constructing it warm like me and not planning on taking it apart, just follow the guideline. Even if you need to take it apart later, all you have to do is just heat it up with a hairdryer for like 30 seconds, and you can pop the leg out. I usually just follow the guide, rather than try and freehand a circle. And then trim it up a little bit if you need to. This isn't really a visible area, but I'm still trying to make them look as nice as possible. Alright, there's one leg. But I'm going to put this right back in because we need this to be super hot to put it on the frame later. Let me grab another leg. Lower one this time. Do the bottom first, it's thicker. So this is a lip again. Follow along the lip. Although we're probably going to end up cutting this again. So just be careful you don't cut too much, but don't get too hung up about what it looks like. Alright, so the reason why I'm going to cut this again, I got the flash out of there so it's not in our way. You can see that there's kind of like an edge. If my phone will focus on it. It's trying to focus on the mallet. Anyway, so there's another little lip here, and you want to make this so it is at an angle, because there's going to be a ball joint here. So, while it's still warm, you want to take your blade and just kind of cut in an angle all the way around. If your blade skips like that, just start cutting again farther back. Alright, inside it looks nice. Smooth that up a slight bit. But we want to make sure it looks nice from the outside too. Alright, I think that looks nice. Okay, now we gotta open up the back of the leg. This is very visible, so you want to take your time with this. Actually, this got cold, so I'm going to let this heat up a little bit before I try and cut that, because I want that to look good, and I don't want to try and cold cut it, and then it looks all jagged. So, we'll come back to that. Do this arm. Alright, so just like with the leg, follow the lip all the way around. I'm always surprised when I reach the end of these because they're so small. Alright, same thing, or same deal. Follow along, get nice and smooth, get rid of that lip. And make it so there's a nice angle inside so it cups the ball joint better. Alright, so that's nice and smooth. Now they have it so that, obviously there's a shape to it. You can, I mean, you could trim it so that it's nice and even all the way around. It doesn't have this shape. It's totally up to you. It looks fine both ways. I try and keep with the mold shape. I just try and make sure that all the edges are at least smooth. You don't have like a jagged part or something pointy. So run your finger along it. Feels good. You're done. This has a guide in it. It may get a little confusing, but go ahead and cut all of it. Corners are always a pain and don't want to cut for me. So the thing about vinyl is because it is liquid, when they put it in there, it's slush casted. Your vinyl is going to be different depths all over the place. And sometimes you cut in going, oh, that's plenty, and then you realize that, oh, it didn't go all the way through because this part had a droplet on it or something. So like I cut all along that there, but this part over here was thicker than the others, so it didn't cut all the way through. So that's good enough. You're never going to see this, but you still want to try and keep it nice and clean. And another thing I like to do is construct as I go. So I'm going to pull out the arms, legs, feet. They also give you a stand, and then for the guys, they give you the guys' hand pegs. But I have found that most of these hands have been so thick that they can use the girl hand pegs. The only difference between the two, the boys have 3, the girls have 2. This is wider, slightly, than the girls. So if you get a hand that's really thin, you can switch out the pegs and put this on there, and then they'll stay on there tighter. But I haven't had a problem with any of these guys yet where I've had to switch it out. So just hold on to it, but you probably don't need to switch it. Double checking to see if there's any questions. Nope, no questions. Alright, cool. Alright, so that arm we just cut. I just had a problem with this last week where I found out that some of the guys had their arms on the wrong side, and it was because I was referencing Ven, who was my prototype doll, but when I got him, I gave him hammer kits so that his arms were easier to use, and I apparently put his lower arms on the wrong side. So what I have figured out is that when it comes to the lower arms, they don't have left or right on them like the girls do, but they have this like ridge. That is their the inside of the forearm. They always curve outward. So this is the left, this is the right. Curves out, curves out. If they're like this and it's curving in, it's on the wrong side. So this is left, this is right. Now, for the arms, if you can see more screws, it's the back side. So this is the front. right arm and left arm. You gotta take off the hand peg to put the forearm on. Pop it on. And there you go. Last time I went through and I cut everything and then I built it, but I'm gonna do it the way I normally do it, which is build as I'm cutting, because the pieces are already hot and it means I get to turn the hairdryer off faster. Speaking of, let's finish cutting that leg so I can put that on. Okay. So follow the guideline really slowly. It's really, really difficult to do the top and the bottom. But I figured out a little trick for making it smooth that I'll show you after I cut this piece out. So, okay, so the bottom, I always get these, like, it's because you have a straight blade, you know, and you're trying to do this really tight turn. But I found that if you, like, tilt your blade a little bit, helps if you finish the cut. If you tilt the blade at an angle, you can get a closer cut. And sometimes you can't, but I think that's a little bit better than where I started. I usually spend more time cleaning up the bottoms of the shins than like anything else. Because again, this is very visible, so you want it to look nice. Unless of course you guys wear pants all the time and then you don't have to worry about it. But sometimes they're wearing shorts and then you're like, oh man, look at how bad I was. Okay. Top is actually pretty good, so I'm going to leave this one where it is. Alright, now this is the right lower leg. I can tell this, well, mostly just because I've stared at the little guys so much, but it curves like this, and the other one curves like that. So, plus if you're looking at the guy's leg, the inside is shorter than the outside. The outside's the longer one. To know which frame you need, the screws always go towards the middle and towards the back. So this one goes towards the middle. And this does actually matter because the frame itself is not straight. It's at an angle. If you put it the other way, then they're going to have weird bowed legs. Put it in, squeeze it so that it's cooling where it's all nice and tight. And that's all you need to do for the lower legs. I'll set that aside until I get more pieces. Alright. Water break. I'm sitting here with my blow dryer blowing in my face. Alright, let's take another stab at this part of the torso, because we're going to have to come back at it again. May as well get some more parts out. Alright, so I always start at the top. And then cut my way around. The second one is always easier to do than the first because you can actually see inside and see what is good vinyl and what is extra vinyl and what should you be cutting and what shouldn't you be cutting. Again, I'm trying to follow the guide, knowing that I can't actually cut all the way through until I've flipped this panel up, but I still try and get as much as I can. Because eventually we are going to cut it down that small. It's just going to take some shaving, basically. Alright, so this is connected at the crotch again. So you gotta, like, cut it out. Alright, got it free. because I can pull it up, and then I'm just trying to cut away the excess vinyl so I can get this big flap out. Again, you just want to get this out, but you want to make sure you don't cut through to the back, because then you'll be very sad. Alright. Again, I'm just trying to get this flap out, not necessarily cut, there we go, as close to the edge as I can, because I will come through and I'll trim it out now that we don't have this in our face. Alright. Now, we have a lot of extra flash still left in here that we're going to have to basically carve out very carefully. But I'm going to let this heat up again before we attempt to do that. And then we also still have to do the standport hole. Alrighty, let's do the other side, because it was on top. Okay, let's get this trimmed up a little bit. I just went a little wonky with my cut, so I'm going to make it a little bit more uniform. But again, this is the thigh, it's really not necessary. Looks pretty good. At the bottom. I only have the tip in there because I'll make it less jagged. And trim it up just a little bit. I actually find that their guide here is not even rounded, but the intent was there, so I always round it off. Alright, that's good. I'm actually going to put that on the frame, which I don't know if you guys noticed, the new frames, they've got like this silicone little like buffer in here, so it makes it so that the legs are just a little bit more stable. It's kind of nice. Alright, are you warm enough? Yep. So, everyone wants to know what the secret to getting this on is. Just get it really, really hot, which that isn't hot enough actually. Get really hot, and then yeah, force it on there. The hotter it is, the squishier it will be, the easier it will be. I probably could have gotten it on there, but I also don't want to risk breaking anything because this is blue and it's never happening again. So, alright, we'll wait for that to heat up a few more minutes. I'm gonna cut another piece. Alright, hands are the things that I have accidentally oops cut the most. So, even taking it very, very slowly, it's possible you could do it. Just be very careful because you don't wanna. I super glued my Cocoa Boy's hand because it just slipped. But, you can't really notice it, thankfully. But I can definitely see where you could cut these pretty bad and then you'd be able to notice. Always cut at an angle, follow along the flash guide, and keep your blade shallow because you'll be less likely to poke your blade into the other side of the hand. Get the flash out of there, then we can trim it up a little bit. So I didn't do that too evenly. There you go. Now, what's important here then, looks nice and it's as smooth as you can get. These are very soft. You want to trim up the edge so you don't have this like weird jagged looking edge because you'll be able to see it. And you want this to be an angle because again this is going to be against a ball joint. Test it on your hand peg. If you like how it looks, great, you're done. I'm going to trim that up a little bit because that's going to bother me. You can kind of see some of the lip. Hands are another one of those things you want to do at the beginning when your blade's super sharp. So I probably should have done this before this. But the less you mess around with the hand, the better it is. So just get it there, get it good enough, and be like, alright, do I like that? Yes. Now leave it alone. Alright. We have one hand. I'm going to get the other hand out now before the blade gets any duller. Where are you? It's a foot. There you go. Okay. Nice and shallow. Follow the guide. Your blade is going to be really, really eager to cut, so you got to make sure it goes slow and careful. Otherwise you end up cutting the hand. Alright, there we go. Come on. And that went deeper than I wanted. It's still okay, but I may have to use the other hand peg on this. Let's see how it looks. Oh, actually, it goes on just fine. Woo! This is what I mean where get it done and get out. Because the more you mess with it, you can make mistakes. Make that a little bit smoother. I'm just cleaning up burrs. Because I don't want jagged parts. Alright. Alright, we have two hands. Okay. Can I get that on now? Let's give it a try. Now, if you find it really difficult, it's just not going on, you could just have, it could be really thick vinyl. You can always trim it up a little bit. So, should I go this way? You don't want to do it a lot. A little bit will go a lot farther than you think. I've also found that some vinyl just goes onto the legs better than others. Again, it may have something to do with the pigment. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. How well does it handle a multi-pass cut? Well, it depends on which part of the vinyl, really. The more times you pass through and cut on the soft parts, the more like facets it'll leave. Oh, I could clean this up a little better. But as long as you're doing long, smooth strokes, it does okay. I mean, It's just that, you know, the more you shave away, the less you're going to have there. So less structural integrity and more, you know, more of what was intended to stay there has been cut away. Okay. It's just this one doesn't want to get soft. I find that if you squeeze it and like pucker out the edges, it helps get it on there, but wow, this doesn't want to get on there. It's still really hard even though it's been hot. I'm going to let this sit in here a little longer and maybe close this up a little. Maybe my hairdryer is just not as hot as it was. Anyway, alright. We'll cut another piece. Feet are not as soft as the hands. Still gonna be careful, cut at an angle. This flash is a little weird, so you're gonna have to trim up the back of it almost every time. But you wanna try and cut at an angle because there's gonna be a ball joint right here, and it makes it sit nicer. I can't leave it on the higher setting because it'll actually turn off. But I'm wondering if my hairdryer is just not heating as well anymore. It's not as hot as I'm used to it being. Alright, anyway, let's trim up that foot. I always have to go through and do another pass on the foot because of how strange the flash is down there. You know, do it at a nice angle so the ball sits in there very nicely, and get rid of the lip. And after you do that, just make sure your edges are nice and clean. So the reason why I'm thinking that it's not as hot as it normally is normally I'd be able to shove this in here no problem. But it is... the foot's still kind of hard. I have another hairdryer upstairs, but I bought this one solely for this purpose. I should be able to get it in there though. It's a little cold, but there you go. You got a foot? Actually, we've already got that leg done, so let's hold it at the top of the joint here. Find the hole with your foot peg, and then wiggle it in. If you think that it's too stiff, like it doesn't want to go in, put a little bit of silicone grease on the post, and it won't make it fall out, it just makes it so it's not as sticky. But you don't want to get too crazy either. So, just a little bit on there. There we go. One leg. Okay. Is it warm enough yet? Nope, not quite. Let's get the other foot. Since I turned it off and turned it back on, it seems to be heating better. So hopefully the hairdryer is not dead, and I'll be able to finish this without going and getting my other one. Right. Once again, follow the guide, cut it at an angle. And go through, cut a little bit more extreme, and clean up those edges. I was curious how many dolls I've built since they started dropping the chaos packs, like in September. Mostly so I had something to talk about while I'm sitting here just cutting vinyl. But I think it was that I've built, for other people, I've built, I think, 16 or 17. And I've got 3 or 4 that will be coming my way. Well, I have another one I'm going to do tonight, and a couple more that are coming my way because they're blue, or they're crystal, or what have you. And they just haven't arrived to their first home yet. And then, for my own, I think I have cut and built 6, just since that. But, then I also had Ian and Jesse, and Val's body, and Chase. So, and then Harley, but Harley was Cortex, and a long time ago. And then Rhea, and Leah, and Alf's Wolf, and Zazie, who are not finished yet. So, I've been through quite a few of them, and there's a reason why now it's reached the point where it's like, okay, I did a demonstration a few months ago, but even since then, I've learned different ways to do it. I've also learned that it's a lot faster and a lot more energy efficient to just build as you go, as opposed to, alright, everything's been cut, now let's build it. I wonder if that's soft enough yet. We're gonna give it another try. Alright, again, make it pucker a little bit, and then push. I may have to cut this one more. Yeah, it doesn't want to go up. Okay. Usually I'm not a big proponent of cut more, but I think that this definitely needs it. For whatever reason, the blue vinyl just doesn't seem as malleable as some of the others. But it also might just be a thick part, too. There may be a lot of vinyl down here. Another thing you can do if you're afraid of it showing too much is you can cut this at an angle and kind of like cut inward and make it so there's less vinyl, but your outside edge is still the same. Alright. Then another go. Still got an arm in here. Let's cut this arm. It's just hanging out in the back. Cut it at an angle, get rid of that lip. There have been a few builds that I was able to do them with absolutely 0 issues. And then there's been other ones where it's like, something that may not give me a problem on other ones gave me a problem on that doll. And then there's a few parts that are just like the usual suspects. The hips are always difficult. Putting the spine plug in sometimes goes in really easy. Other times it just does not want to. And then putting the lower arms into the upper arms is also a pain in the butt. And then sometimes it goes right in. And it's like, I don't know why you cooperated, and this one that came in the box with you did not, but I'll take it. So unfortunately, sometimes you just don't know what to expect until you start building that particular doll. And when you're dealing with chaos, especially, you run into strange situations, and sometimes you have to redo it several times before it works. I think I had to do Ian and Jesse's legs and spine 3 or 4 times each into their torsos, because all that vinyl that we had seen at the bottom of this one, it was my first time dealing with that, where there was just like a whole bunch pooled up in there, and so I put it in there, and their leg frame didn't go down far enough, so their legs were like too far up, so I had to like take them apart and then trim it out more and stuff like that, and haven't really had that problem since, thankfully, but that was a pain. Pop that on there before it's cold. There we go. Okay, nice lower leg done. This looks really good, but there was still some rips showing. Okay. I think that's good. It's cold. Oh, that's really hot now. Let's see if we can get that on now. Pinch it. There we go. See, it's just a matter of it finally getting hot. Why it's being difficult, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna blame my hair dryer. I'm gonna let that heat up. We're gonna get an arm done, an upper arm done quick. This is on a ball joint too, so you want to go at an angle. So, I'm not worried about getting this other leg on there yet. I'm going to leave it sitting there and stay warm. But I always put one thigh on, and then I put the other thigh on after the torso has been put on the thigh, or put on the hip frame. Because you don't want to be doing both of them when it's sitting inside of the torso. But you can send that thigh part through the torso, but both of them need to be super, super hot and squishy, and it's just a better idea to not try and tempt your torso to rip. So, do one leg, put the frame in, do the other leg. Okay. My room must be colder than I thought, because these things are cooling down pretty quick. I'm going to have to do the upper arm slit. I'm gonna have to put it back in there to warm up. Okay. Let's try and trim some of this. So we have to get this extra flash out of the groin area without cutting the actual torso through. So you gotta just shave carefully until you're comfortable with how far it went down. And it's not visible, but this will interfere with the legs if you don't get as much flash out of here as you can. Shading stuck up there. Again, go shallow. And eventually you'll get all that out. The plastic tub in the way. I just moved, so. Okay, and let's get the other side. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Make sure up top looks good. I can clean a little bit more out of that. Alright, only one thing left to do in there. I'm gonna let that heat up again. And then we'll put the porthole in there. Okay, let's finish up this arm. Now it's nice and warm again. This is another pretty visible slit, so you want to try and make it as smooth as possible. Take it slow and use just the tip so it's not digging in. I clipped myself, but I did not break skin. But thankfully, I didn't do anything to the vinyl. Vinyl won't heal, my finger will. I'm really expecting my husband to come down and yell at me for that. But I locked the door, so we can't. I don't think he'll come down and try and yell at me though, because he would probably startle me, and he knows that I would cut myself more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now this is left arm, so you need to pull it out of the top, put it in, and I already checked these before the video, but you may have to sand these down and grease them up to get the arm pegs to go in. I was able to get these in without doing anything, so I'm hoping that it still works with me. We'll see. I hate these pegs, only because I've broken one before. Try and get the form at a right angle. Hold on to the frame nice and securely in your other hand. You're trying to feel for this clicking into the upper arm frame. There we go. Huzzah! We have an arm. And because I haven't done this yet, let's let that loosen up. Shoulders are really tight in the spine lately, so I try and let the arms sit in there a little bit before I'm trying to put the entire doll together, just so that it gets a chance to, you know, stretch out a little bit. Let's get the other arm going. All I have left at the end is putting the torso together. I'll be excited, because usually it's the arms that fight me the most. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope they're not difficult this time. But part of the reason why I tested the frame before we started doing this is because when I put a crystal girl together this weekend, one of her lower leg pegs, it fit in the thigh, like this part that goes into here, it fit in there, but it just fell right out. It was so loose it wouldn't stay in there. So I was able to fix it. You put super glue on it and then let it dry and then sand it down so it's nice and smooth. Give it a try and see if it's tight enough. I had to do that, put super glue on it twice or 3 times and sand it a couple times, but eventually I was able to get it so that it fit in there nice and snug. And that's not just something I made up, that's something that it's in the archives now, but it's a smart doll hack that Danny had posted on the website. And I had to do that last week to Chase. So when I said I was fixing him, that's what I was doing, because for whatever reason, his lower leg was doing the same thing. So, but he also had a really old frame. Most of it was chaos parts. The rest of it was taken out of Ethan when Ethan busted. So none of his frame is what I'd call top quality. But also, if you ever notice that for some reason I have pictures of Chase just laying around dismantled, it's mostly because he did it to himself. But now he's just fixed and should not be a problem anymore. Alright. One more. One more. So my family is upstairs eating pizza. I can tell because the kitchen is right above my craft room and I can hear them thudding around like wildebeest. I am not terribly excited about getting this over with and going up and eating the pizza because my husband wanted to try out Northern Lights pizza. And I don't know what they're doing. Want to try out Northern Lights pizza, and if you've ever been to Des Moines, it's basically just college pizza. But he hasn't really had it, so we want to give it a try and see what it's like. I'm like, sure, go for it, that's fine. But I really don't care. At least he didn't say he wanted to get Paul Revere's, because Paul Revere's was the pizza that was absolutely amazing when you've been partying all night and drinking too much. But then the next day you're like, why? It's just a tad greasy. Okay. Actually, I want to shave that down a little bit more of an angle. There you go. Get that arm in. Angle. There's a chunk of vinyl stuck in there. It went in. Oh, come on. You can do it. There we go. Yes. 2 arms. Huzzah. Alright, here's that over there. My husband said, nom nom nom, we are watching you. I was just talking about your interesting pizza choice for tonight. Almost there. Literally 2 more things to cut. And then I can just put it all together. Again, this is very visible, so I'm taking it nice and slow. I'm going to have to trim it up regardless, though. Not as much as I thought I would need to, though. Again, it may be hard to see it on the camera. There's guide marks from the mold, so you can get a nice straight cut. When I'm trimming, that's mostly what I'm doing, is just trying to get it to those guide marks. And then at the bottom I always have these jagged edges because my blade is not rounded. Alright. That one looks good. The other side. That one's good too. Let's put the lower leg frame on. And we can put the foot on. There you go. 2 lower legs. All we have left to cut is a stand porthole. Now, the way I do this The girls, they have it already like in the mold. You don't have to guess about it. I have a photo, which when I printed, actually came out terrible. Because you can't see any of the shadows that I had in the original photo. However, if you guys ever want that photo, just message me because I have it saved in like 3 different places now. So that I can reference it easily. But, yeah. So I made an attempt. But it doesn't it doesn't work when you can't see the shadows. So basically, this stand porthole needs to go up here where you see like there's like a triangular shape back here, which makes sense because that's what you're basically putting in there. But I always thought it needed to go in the middle. It needs to go way up here at the top. So, again, you're going to use the frame as your guide. So get a hole cut in there, and then you're going to see if you can put the stand port into it, or if you need to make it bigger. Start small, you can always make it bigger. Alright, so that's way too small, and I know it's way too small, but we're just trying to figure out location. You can keep moving it so you can see the shadows. Yep, that mine's nice in the center, I just need to make it bigger. That's still not big enough, and I just know this for a fact because it's actually quite large. But in terms of location, I like where it's at. Now, if you make this super jagged, it's not going to matter because once you get the plug in there, you're not even going to see the edges. It covers the edges completely. I still try to make it as smooth as possible because I don't want anything to like have a weak point and rip. Unlikely, but you know, it could happen. If you have a Dremel with a drill setting, you could just Dremel this. So, okay, I can get that in now. I think I might make it... No, I'm just going to keep it warm. Whew. Yes, I just shot that at myself. There you go. Nice and round. Keep that warm. Because now we're going to very, very quickly, because that's the last of the cutting, we're going to very, very quickly put this guy together. Now what I need, I use this to push my port plug in. So I used to use this in the torso to basically push against to put the port plug in. However, it rolled and it worked better for the girls than the guys. But with my husband's help, we actually made a tool that you guys can make at home if you find yourself doing this much. I literally just took 2 of those small post-it pads and then a stir stick, tongue depressor, whatever, taped it to the end of it. And this is thick enough, this is narrow enough, it'll fit in there, and you can push against it, and so you don't have to go and find something random in your house to bridge that gap in the torso, so you can put it together. Now let's show you what I mean. We put the thighs in there. Now we're going to go get the other one and get it put on. Hopefully it's soft enough. Pinch. Pucker it a little bit. Get it on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. No, I can't do it. Alright. I'm going to do what we did with the other one and just trim it without trimming the outside. Okay. I'm going to give it another try. Everything's really warm, so I'm trying to do this fast because I want to be able to put the port plug in while it's still warm. Alright, let's give this another go. Pinch it. Man, it's definitely not a matter of this thigh not being warm enough. So I'm going to try and trim it just a little bit more. Isn't that one of those things where, oh, if I keep trying at it for 20 minutes, it'll work? No, you're just going to get tired. So either you make it warmer, or you make it a little bit bigger. Or you can go and get someone who's stronger. That works too. But I've been able to build all these all by myself. So if I can handle it, I think most people can. Okay. I'm impatient. I don't want that turned off. So, okay, come on. Pop out. There we go. Man, now that the hairdryer is not running, it sounds so quiet down here. It's like right there. Damn it. So, I am positive you guys couldn't hear it, but I could hear a child upstairs saying, "You can do it, Mommy!" Alright. Third try's the charm, right? Is this the third try? I don't even remember. It's there. It's there. Huzzah! We got it on. Alright. Now I need to keep this warm, but let the thighs cool down. And I'm pretty sure I squished his butt, so I'm trying to heat that back up so it can pop back out where it's supposed to be. Alright. Now that we got the thighs on, it's in the torso, we need the spine. A child upstairs is yelling, "Good job." Because they're watching while they eat. Okay. Now you can see inside there is the peg. We gotta get the spine lined up. Just kind of like wiggle it on. They usually pop in pretty easy. There we go. Let's see if my measurements were good. It looks like they were. There's the hole. Now we stick this inside of the torso. You want to get it right behind where the part of the spine is, where the plug is going to slide into. Okay, now, I like to put a little bit of grease on this because it just helps it go in. And once it goes in, it's not coming out, so. Get that body lined up. Do it this way, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. And this is the reason why I wanted the torso to be warm, because then I'm not fighting the vinyl, I'm only fighting the spine, which has gotten all twisty on me. Okay. Hold on. There you go. You want to get that plug through the vinyl, but you don't want to lose the spine. So hold that in place. Push that in. There we go. Make sure it's lined up. And we're in. Sometimes it only goes in most of the way, but not all the way, so I'll just give it a tap with the mallet. This one actually went in all the way, so that was mostly just for demonstration. But that's another reason why I keep the mallet on the table, not just to hold my hairdryer. Okay, we have the hardest part done. Now it's a matter of popping the limbs and giving moobs. Alright, so we want to find the thigh in here, put the shin peg in there, just wiggle it back and forth. Nice and easy. Same over here. Usually the longest part of this is finding that socket inside of the thigh. There we go. 2 legs. I am going to move this back now since I am no longer cutting, so you guys can see better. There we go. Time for the bust. And the first arm, hold on to the middle of the spine. Try and get that on there. Once you get the first arm on, the second arm is easier because you can push against it. There we go. We have a guy. He needs a head though, so I did not get Adam because I tried getting Adam and Coco and I wasn't a big fan. So a few weeks ago I got F4 in blue in one of my head packs. Oh, one of these legs is not done in as far as the other one. And I just guess Chaos decided that that is what head my blue guy was going to get. I didn't expect the blue guys to drop as fast as they did, but here they did. Here they are. And stand. I want to see if you guys can even see them. There we go. There we go. We are finished. So if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm going to stand here for another minute or two. Otherwise, you can just comment. I'm going to post this video on my Instagram profile so that other people can see it later, because this went faster and a little bit better, well, in some parts, than when I did the cinnamon guy. Mostly because I've been doing this for a couple months now and have, you know, I've had quite a bit more practice than I did then. So, let's see. Alright. I don't see any comments, but see a cool and a yay, a blue boy. I get to build another one of these tonight. The one I'm doing tonight is for somebody else, but I didn't want to record me building somebody else's because I take a whole lot more time and attention when I'm doing somebody else's. Mine, if I was like, oh, well, that was a wonky cut, I can fix it later. It's not going anywhere. So, I was hoping to have his wig actually finished and ready by the time we did the build tonight, but just didn't happen. So, maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Hopefully I'll have brand new doll to show you guys, complete with wig and everything, and maybe a name. We'll see. So, alright. I don't see any questions, so I am going to cut this off, and then I'll get it posted up on Instagram. Thanks for joining in, everyone who did, and I hope it was helpful if you're trying to build your own boy, girl, whatever it may be. And if it was just for entertainment, I appreciate you tuning in. So, bye-bye.